All right, welcome to this explainer on dynamic sermon delivery. Today, we're taking a deep dive into how you can transition your preaching from a heavy reliance on a written manuscript to becoming a masterful, confident storyteller. If you've ever felt completely chained to the pulpit while trying to bring a vibrant Old Testament narrative to life, well, you're definitely in the right place. We're going to unpack the extremely practical insights of Dr. David Mathewson, focusing squarely on the art of delivery. So let's jump right in. Here is our roadmap. We'll be looking at 5 key areas: ditching the security blanket, preparing to go note-free, using props and first-person preaching, stepping out from the pulpit, and finally, mastering voice and gestures. Okay, Section 1, ditching the security blanket. Let's start by addressing the elephant in the room, the ultimate fear for any speaker. What actually happens if you just forget your sermon? Dr. Mathewson suggests the very first thing you should do is leave your manuscript behind, which sounds absolutely terrifying, doesn't it? You might be picturing the fate of George Truett, the famous pastor in Dallas. He tried preaching without notes once, and literally 7 minutes into expounding on, "You are the light of the world," he froze. He had to stop and confess, "My little light went out." Honestly, it's the nightmare scenario we all play on a loop in our heads. But hold on a second. Here is the counter to that fear. As the legendary preaching instructor Haddon Robinson used to say, a good sermon remembers itself. Think about it for a minute. If you're telling a story about a harrowing escape or the birth of your kid, you don't whip out index cards, right? You just know the big movements. If you've deeply immersed yourself in the text, you're naturally going to recall those major beats of the story. No safety blanket required. Moving on to Section 2, preparing to go note-free. Now, how do we actually wire our brains to confidently leave those notes in the study? It doesn't happen by accident. Dr. Mathewson suggests a pretty brilliant 4-step framework for this. First up, organize. Write out that word-for-word manuscript because writing clarifies your thinking. Second, internalize. Don't memorize it word for word. That just sounds robotic. Instead, read it over and over until it naturally feels conversational. Third, pray. Turn those major moves of your sermon into actual prayer requests. And fourth, rehearse. Take your manuscript into an empty room, practice out loud, and only peek at the text if you really get stuck. Now, if you absolutely must take notes into the pulpit, there's a right way and a very wrong way to do it. The right way? Put your big idea at the top of your Bible page and use simple one-word triggers in the margins. The wrong way is trying to reproduce your entire manuscript by packing the margins tighter than a German sausage. If you cram it all in there like that, you're only going to cause yourself pure panic and confusion in the heat of the moment. Give yourself the freedom of minimal notes. All right, Section 3, props and first-person preaching. Let's move into the physical space. Have you ever considered preaching your narrative as a first-person account? Stepping into the shoes of an elder in Bethlehem for the Book of Ruth, for example, naturally forces you right into storytelling mode. And whether you use first-person or stick to third-person, physical objects can really elevate things. Visual props like a sword for the Ehud story, an animal jawbone, a scroll, maybe even a piece of broken pottery, these can effectively help your audience lock into the narrative. In fact, Dr. Mathewson actually recalls rigging up a battle standard out of a stick and a flag for Exodus 17 just to physically show what the Lord is my banner looks like. But, and this is a massive but, you have to use them sparingly. You've got to be so careful that the prop doesn't take on a life of its own. You really don't want your congregation walking away saying, "Wow, cool sword," while having absolutely zero clue what the message was. Basically, do not let the prop become the sermon. Section 4, stepping out from the pulpit. So let's look at how to leverage your physical platform and break free from the furniture. When you're preaching an Old Testament narrative, you're a storyteller, and storytellers need room to operate. Charles Spurgeon famously called the pulpit a coward's castle. And he kind of hit the nail on the head. While pulpits beautifully symbolize the preaching of the word, from a strict communication standpoint, there is honestly no advantage to standing behind a wooden box. Stepping out from behind that barrier can instantly upgrade your connection with the room. But we've got to be intentional about how we move. Preaching isn't acting, and pacing back and forth nervously is incredibly distracting for an audience. Instead, try this. Purposefully walk from point A to point B while you're talking through a transition and then plant your feet. Stay put to deliver your point. Then, when you're ready, move to point C for the next idea. It's like designating specific spots on your stage for different characters or locations. And speaking of designating locations, you absolutely have to keep the map effect in mind. This is such a wild visual trap that a lot of speakers fall into. When you set up stage locations, let's say Israel on one side and Moab on the other, remember that the congregation sees everything in reverse. You're essentially standing behind the map. So if your left is Israel and your right is Moab, it looks completely backward to them. You always have to map out your physical movements from the audience's backward perspective. Finally, Section 5, Mastering Voice and Gestures. This is where we zoom in on the most crucial tools for any storyteller, your own body and your own voice. You don't need elaborate costumes, you just need to unleash the tools you already carry. A skilled storyteller utilizes intense vocal variety. This means intentionally shifting your pitch higher or lower. It means playing with volume, getting really loud for impact, or dropping down to a near whisper to draw people in. And it means altering your rate, speeding up during the action and slowing way down for the heavy stuff. Combine these to channel the distinct emotion of the characters. And here's a golden rule. You are not being as dramatic as you think you are. If you feel like your volume dropped from a 9 to a 2, the audience probably just heard a 6 to a 4. You really have to exaggerate that contrast. Pair that vocal variety with some big, exaggerated physical gestures. Storytelling practically begs for this. Act the scene out. Toss some wheat into the air with an imaginary pitchfork, draw back a heavy bowstring, point far off toward a well, or physically shield your eyes from the blazing desert sun. These large gestures don't just help your audience visualize the world, they simultaneously burn off your own nervous energy on stage, which is a huge win-win. But above all else, maintain direct eye contact. Haddon Robinson warned that, almost without exception, a congregation simply will not listen intently to a speaker who refuses to look at them. And don't do that weird trick where you gaze vaguely over the sea of heads. Look specific individuals right in the eye. Walk in on one person, deliver a thought, and then smoothly move to someone else. You aren't just talking at them, you're having a genuine one-on-one conversation with them. Also, pay close attention to your timing. The language of silence can honestly be far more powerful than words. We get so fired up as speakers that we just barrel through, right? But preaching without well-placed pauses is like running on a slippery floor. Your audience just can't get any traction. Pauses give your listeners the time they desperately need to breathe, to lean in, and to process the emotional weight of what you just dropped on them. Ultimately, everything we've talked about today, the vocal leaps, the gestures, the pauses, walking away from that manuscript, it's all just packaging. It's the packaging for a Christmas present. You use these tools to make sure your carefully crafted Old Testament narrative arrives safely and perfectly intact in the hearts and minds of your listeners. Without the right delivery, the message might literally get lost in transit. So I'll leave you with this to chew on. The next time you step onto that stage, is your delivery guaranteeing your message arrives safely, or is your security blanket getting in the way? Thanks for hanging out with me on this explainer, and keep honing that speaker's toolkit.